guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. Thank you for joining me. Before we get into the cannon card, is it good? Is it bad? What is a super card and what is the super card's effect on the game? How can we kind of try to curb this? Before we get to all of that, I wanted to say thank you so much for 400,000 subscribers. Holy moly, that is insane to me, guys. I would never have thought a few years ago that would be where I am. I have a channel that's not necessarily predicated on being like an over-the-top wacky personality or super entertaining, although I hope that we can share a laugh every now and then. And to see it grow to where it is, I thank a lot of you guys who say I deserve more subscribers, but honestly, I'm just shocked that I have the amount that I do. And I wanted to thank you all for being a part of this community with me. It really it does mean a lot. I say that every video, but it truly does. You guys are incredible to me, so thank you guys. So moving into today's video, you can see the Cannon Cart Challenge is upon us. It's a 2v2 draft challenge. You can win 15 Cannon Carts, which is a really nice prize, and there's a free entry as well. You probably saw these videos on other YouTubers' channels. I still kind of cover these new card releases, but because there's just an overwhelming number of these videos that all come out at the same time, all kind of highlighting the same exact thing, I like to try to do a little bit of a different twist to it. So talking more about the card, you have the gameplay in the background. So that's what we're going to do today. So I want to talk first about the Cannon card. Is it even going to be a good card worth upgrading? It's an epic card, so it's going to be difficult to upgrade. Should we prioritize it, or should we kind of, you know, just let it hang there and see what happens to it? So we're going to talk about that, and I want to kind of bring that conversation into the whole super card. What is it? Is it ruining the game? Is it affecting the game? And what should be done about it? So let's start with the Cannon cart itself. The Cannon cart is probably my second least favorite of this. Well, let's put it this way. There's 4 cards coming: the Mega Knight, the Cannon cart, the Skeleton Barrel, and the Flying Machine. I put the Mega Knight and the Skeleton Barrel in a category of really good cards that I'm excited about. I put the Flying Machine and the Cannon cart into the category of cards that I'm a little bit more skeptical about, although I do kind of like both the cards at the same time. So why do I like it? I like that the card has an interesting kind of two-phase mechanic. I like cards that are interesting like that, right? That you kill it and it becomes something else. That's really interesting to me, and I think that whether players realize it or not, those type of cards are certainly more appealing and have a greater effect on strategy, gameplay, and stuff like that, make the game more interesting throughout the course of a match. So I like the card. However, I'm not sure. I think that the problem with the Cannon card is that sometimes it can be awesome. I actually think that it, ironically, and I might be wrong here. First of all, if you ever walk away from an episode of CWA and you think to yourself, oh, this Ash guy thinks he knows everything, certainly I'm getting the wrong impression. I'm giving the wrong impression to you guess. And this is just my guess. I'm just trying to talk to you guys about what I think these cards are and how they'll do. So it's just my opinion, so I could be totally wrong. In fact, I'm probably more wrong than I am right on more occasions. But anyway, I think the Cannon card might be a more offensive card than a defensive card, which is interesting because that's not how I hear most people talking about the card. I think because it turns into a defense, it makes people think, okay, it's probably a really powerful defensive card, or at the very least a good counterattack card. It could be a good counterattack card, but I really think that offensively it has some interesting utilities. Even if you can get it, so that the cannon, the second phase of the card, is in range of the tower, it becomes incredibly powerful to stop unless you have those glass tanks ready, like the ice golem or something, to distract it. In that case, it's kind of nullified really quickly. So it's kind of a feast or famine card. You can get a lot of value out of it, or it can be a total bust. The fact that it's feast or famine, the fact that it can be an absolute bust of a card, I mean, how useful is a cannon sitting there on the bridge, out of range of everything? Usually it's not too useful. So because of that, I think that in most cases, it's not going to be an incredibly serviceable card, especially on defense. The fact that it does turn into a cannon, sometimes to me, it ends up just being more of a novelty, a distraction, an extra little bonus on offense to kind of give your support troops more time. It's not a tank by any stretch of the imagination. It's a support card, but it also has somewhat of some tank tendencies to it, because when it does die, it becomes another unit and you have to kill that unit, so it does kind of buy you some time, okay? But it's definitely not a tank, not enough HP to be a tank. So because of all these reasons, as I said, I'm not a huge fan of the power of the card, although I actually do enjoy the card. Now, that's going to bring us to the next topic of conversation, which is going to be, what are super cards? And that's what I think. When this game started, there was, whatever, 40-something cards. I don't know exactly the number, but there was like around 50 cards, and now there's almost double that. We're approaching, you know, well, not almost double, but we're getting a lot of new cards, which is awesome. I love new cards, and I think they should keep coming. I'm in the camp that I like new cards, and I want them more often, not less often. That's me personally. I know a lot of people disagree with that, a lot of pros especially. However, there's a problem, right? There's everything in life, right? You give a little, you get a little, but nothing's like, it's very rare that something's a total beautiful scenario where you're incredibly happy about it. It's always a win. Sometimes there's a little give and take, is what I'm trying to say in my long-winded way. So the cannon card, or any card, when you add it to the game, it has a kind of chain reaction, whether you realize it or not, where every other card that's in the same class, or even cards that aren't in the same class, they'll be affected by a new card. So a cannon card's added to the game. You know, other cards that hadn't seen too much life will maybe get a little bit of life because they're a good counter to a strong card that's added to the game. On the other end of the spectrum, a really good card added to the game can box out a bunch of other cards, and that's the danger. Add a card like Night Witch and you'll never see Mini P.E.K.K.A. again. Add a card like the Executioner and it makes it very hard for other epic cards that cost 5, such as Cannon Cart, to kind of be the best choice. You look at Executioner, you look at Bowler, they are super cards in my opinion, meaning they can fit into really any deck. And they synergize incredibly well with another specific card or two, such as Executioner Tornado. You can stick Executioner Tornado in really any deck. You can put it in a beatdown deck and it's going to be beautiful. You can put it in a Hog Cycle deck and you're going to be a-okay. So when you have cards as powerful as that, and not just the card, but the other interactions, again, the Tornado with the Executioner, the Tornado with the Baby Dragon, you know, I think that you run it, the more of these cards you add to the game, the more other cards just pass by the wayside and don't get used at all, and it makes it more difficult to add new interesting cards such as the Cannon Cart, in my opinion, because, you know, why would I want to use a Cannon Cart when I can just use the Executioner Tornado, or I can use the Bowler, or something that's a little bit less high risk, high reward? So, although I like these new cards, same thing with any other card like Mega Knight. Well, you know, Mega Knight could totally replace Dark Prince, and Dark Prince is already on life support, but you know, you guys get the point. I mean, why would you want to use a Dark Prince, or, well, it's a little bit of a bad comp there, but, you know, Giant Skeleton, something like that. You know, it gives you less reasons to use cards that are already kind of on life support in the meta. So, is that going to be a problem going forward, and how can that be addressed? You guys know me, I don't like to just present problems and then leave you guys to fester in them. I like to try to also present solutions to those problems, and it's all going to come back to the idea that I showed in the second half of my Why Are the Pros Mad episode that was last week or the week before. And I really enjoyed a lot of feedback I got from that video, but, you know, YouTube is YouTube, and people have a tendency to only watch the first half of a video, and I kind of regret that I shared the negative first and then not the positive till the end, and here I am doing it again in this video. Shame on me, Ash. You gotta change, dude. You gotta change. But you kind of have to lay the foundation sometimes to build the rest of the argument on top of it. So the problem I've identified is when you add new cards, the new cards are difficult to level up. That's a huge issue. With legendaries and epics, it can be 6 months, it can be a year till you even have these cards so they're ready to be played on ladder, and so much can happen in that time that, you know, it's kind of irrelevant. They add a new legendary, they add a new epic card, unless you're a big challenge or tournament guy, which, you know, I am, so it's cool for me, but a lot of free-to-play players, like, you know, they don't, you know, you add a new legendary, you add a new epic, it's almost like you don't care, because it's going to be so long before you can have that card leveled up to actually play it on ladder. So, you might be able to see where I'm going here, guys. It's the same solution. We need a revamped competitive mode inside the game. Now, when I say competitive mode, I don't mean a way to farm up cards. We already have challenges, victory challenges, classic and grand. are really good for leveling up cards. We have interesting play modes such as 2v2, but it's not a competitive game mode right now. There's no ladder, there's no ranking system for people who get that. You know, some people find a lot of enjoyment out of just ranking up and setting new personal best and seeing where they fare compared to their clanmates. Me, I'm one of those people as well. So I think that we need a new competitive game mode around 2v2 in terms of a way to rank and track players, maybe a ladder system, maybe not, because ladder system, you run into the same problems. What I would like to do, what I would like to put forth to you guys is a ladder system for 2v2, but that's not the solution to the problem that we talked about earlier, because it's not going to do anything to that problem. But I also want is I need those custom tournaments that have good, solid prizes, not, you know, you play for an hour to open up a chest with 10 cards in it, you know? I mean, that's not going to make anybody happy. There needs to be a ranking system or a badge or something. Like, think about Clash of Clans. For those of you who haven't played, I've been playing since 2013. I was one of the early adopters of Clash of Clans. And for a while, for the first year and a half, 2 years of Clash of Clans, there was just trophy as well, just ladder, essentially, as to compare it to Clash Royale. And then they added Clan Wars, and then people started, you know, caring about their war stars and their stats, and that was how they were evaluated and judged in the game. I think we need something like that that's tied into tournaments in Clash Royale. Now, in tournaments, you know, I've put this forth. I'll go ahead and link the video where I flesh out this idea much more, but I really think that what we need in tournaments is draft challenges, more drafting. Drafting is huge. I mean, look at Rumham's channel. It's all built around drafting, and people love it. Drafting is huge because how drafting solves the problem we talked about earlier is all the cards are involved. And some cards serve way more utility than other cards in a draft challenge than they do in a regular challenge because all the cards are in the card pool. You don't have to worry about just countering the meta. So that's why drafting is going to be incredibly important. Also, blind deck challenges, classic challenges, legacy challenges, or legacy tournaments using only a selection of cards that were, you know, different types. There's different ways you can build tournament systems around different cards. Think of it as, you know, I'll go back to my Magic the Gathering comparison again, but there's so many different ways, I'll flash it on the screen right now, to play Magic the Gathering in competitive environments. That's the key. You can add new game modes all day, but we need new competitive environments. That way we can structure tournaments and brackets around these game modes. Okay, so whoever, you know, this person is the best player in the world with all the cards at tournament level standards. Well, who's the best drafter in the world? It's an entirely different skill set. It gives a whole new group of players an opportunity to shine in the game. So I really, again, I can't stress enough, I want a revamped tournament system with some sort of a competitive element, whether it be a ranking system or a leaderboard system. I just want more ways to compete and play inside the game other than just ladder, where card levels rule everything. That's when the game kind of becomes stale at certain points. So I'm very optimistic, by the way. I don't want to sound like a pessimist here. I'm optimistic that this will come, or certainly some sort of solution. I know the Supercell team is back at it right now. Finnish holiday has just ended, so I would anticipate balance changes coming in the next few weeks, and I would anticipate an update coming in the next month or two, maybe mid-September. I say that only based on intuition and based on what happened last year. We got balance changes mid-August, we got an update mid-September. I would expect the same this year. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to my YouTube partner Bren Chong, and also thank you to my teammates here. We had Boom from the Clash Royale podcast. Great podcast, guys. Check it out, please. And we had Ruiner, who is the CEO, the manager of statsroyale.com. And of course, we had Yarn, Orange Juice. You guys know him, one of the best YouTubers out there for Clash Royale. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks again for 400K. Really appreciate it. Want to get your thoughts on the topics that we covered in today's video. And as always, take care, guys.